This is Eric Stark with the Smart RVer podcast, and today is Fast Tip Friday. So every other Friday we have a tip on a product or two, usually 10 minutes or less. And today we're going to be talking about heated water hoses. Now, heated water hoses are pretty much only used during the winter time, and we're going to talk about two brands today. Well, actually, the two brands is what we have, but it doesn't necessarily mean those are the brands you have to buy. So the brand we have today is Pureit. These are pretty popular, very common. You can find them in a lot of different places. Then we have the Camco heated water hose. And this is pretty common too. Another Camco product. All right, now we got that out of the way. Let's get down to business here. So, heated water hoses you're gonna use them in the wintertime, and it's gonna keep your water running. It's not gonna be frozen. If it's frozen, obviously it's not going to fill the RV and the hose could split, break, cause other problems. So both hoses are very similar. They do the same thing. They go to like minus 40 degrees and they plug into 110 volt outlets. And just for the record, this is a smaller hose. This is 12 feet. The Camco one here is 25 feet. A little harder to show and move around, but it comes with a plug on it. So this goes into 110 volt outlet. And you can't connect multiple hoses together. It doesn't work that way. It's one hose per connection. So if you need 25 feet, that's what you need to buy. If you need 100 feet, you need to buy a 100-foot one. You can't connect two 50s together to make 100 feet. Just doesn't work that way. So they both have the cord. They both have thermostats at some level. Sometimes the thermostats are adjustable. Usually not, but they work just fine when they come from the factory. You don't have to worry about setting it. You pretty much hook them up and you're done. Now the Pureit one is a little bit different than the Camco. This looks more like your typical water hose. Where the Camco one has a liner on it that has everything inside of it. So it looks a little bit different, looks a little clunkier, but it's still a good hose. We're not pushing a brand here. We're just showing you the hoses and the purpose of them. And again, it has a thermostat on it, but it's on the end of the hose, a little bit different than the Pureit one. And of course, it has the plug that plugs into the 110 volt outlet. And again, it doesn't matter the brand. You can't connect one or more or two or more together. They're designed one hose, one connection. They both come with instructions that kind of clarify how they work, what temperature they operate at. And that's good to know, but ultimately you can plug it in and not have to worry about it freezing, and that's the goal. And the Camco comes with these little insulation tubes. They go on the end of the hose, and you can actually slide it over the hose bib to help it from freezing. And that's another thing too. If you're in an area where they have frost-free connections, you can't hook it up to the frost-free and not have the frost-free insulated. Whether it's one coming up out of the ground, and if you're not sure what I mean, it looks like a well. It's got a handle that you open. So that has to be insulated. Or if it's hooked up to a house or something similar, and it has just a hose bib coming out of the house, but it's the frost-free type, it needs to be insulated. The frost-free only works when they're off. When they're on and water's going through the hose, that frost-free is no longer a frost-free. It will freeze. So make sure that is insulated. The heat of the hose is certainly going to help keep it from freezing, but you want to put some insulation on it to make sure. You do not want that to freeze, especially, either one. You don't want them to freeze. That's a big chore in the wintertime to have a broken pipe. Whether it's a frost-free or in the house or whatever, it becomes a nightmare. So make sure you do that. And if you're not sure if you have a frost-free or not, just insulate it no matter what, because it should be insulated. Anywhere there's cold water, it's going to have the opportunity to freeze and break a pipe or the valve itself. So that kind of is the heated hose in a nutshell. If you're in an area where it freezes at night or during the day, you want to have a heated hose to keep that water going into the RV. The only other way really around that would be to fill the water tank of the RV and then disconnect your water hose. And then when you run out of water, fill the water tank again. That's doable, a little harder to do depending on the weather. If all of a sudden there's a storm coming in, you're stuck in the middle of it trying to fill your water tank, kind of a hassle. And depending on the temperature, the water will freeze very quickly. You turn off the water, it can be frozen within minutes. So you have to be careful if you do it that way. And the other thing to consider too is if you decide you want to just get a water hose and then wrap it with heat tape and put insulation on it, what we've seen is, depending on which brand water hose you buy and where you buy it, how much you pay, you might be paying almost as much for making your own heated hose as if just buying one. And along with that, be careful what you buy. Some of these big platforms for selling a multitude of products, they sell low quality heated hoses. Sometimes they'll only last a week, last a month. They'll melt, they stop working. So buy a brand that has a warranty and that you can return somewhere in case it does fail. So that's heated water hoses. So I want to thank you for watching today. This is Eric Stark presenting Free Tip Friday. Keep getting those words mixed up. Free Tip Friday with the Smart RVer podcast. Thank you for watching.